Hey everybody, it's Brad with a Artistic Suite version 6 video for you. Today we're going to be creating a text design, converting it into crystals, and then exporting it to the crystal cutter so that you can create a template and then put the word in crystals on anything you like. So we're going to go ahead and open our program, look for the Creative Drawing 6 icon on your desktop, double click it, the program will open. Now, if you ever get a little message when you click on that says CBU failure, that means that your security device, the little USB flash drive looking thing that came with the program, isn't plugged into the computer, and the software won't run without it. So if you get a CBU failure, that means your dongle, that's what that's called, is not plugged in. Okay, so when the program opens, make sure that Create New is highlighted and go down to Next. The next screen that comes up is where we select our fabric, and for this particular application it makes no difference at all what fabric we choose. I'm going to choose cotton. If you were making an embroidery design instead of a crystal design, it does matter because it will automatically preset your like pull compensation and the type of underlay and a bunch of other things depending on what type of material you plan to sew on. In this case, doesn't matter. I'm going to pick cotton. Hit Next. On this menu, the artwork source, we're actually not going to be working from artwork in this case, so we're going to choose New Graphic. And we'll deal with all this other stuff in a different video. And under Hoop, I want you to hit this little downward facing triangle and choose Generic 180 by 130. 180 by 130 is the 5x7 hoop. So once you have that selected and New Graphic selected, left click on Finish. Okay, it puts us out to a screen. If I scroll with my mouse wheel, I can zoom in and out. See, you can't see me scrolling with my mouse wheel, but just imagine me moving the little wheel in the middle of the mouse in and out. If you're on a laptop, it's tougher to do, without using an external mouse to have it zoom in and out like that. So you can zoom in and out with this little percentage thing here. You can go 125%, 100%. 75% and so on to zoom in and out. So anyway, the first thing I want to do with this is actually rotate my hoop area because I want to have this hoop at a 90-degree angle so that I've got the most area to do a word written across. And the way you do that is move your mouse up to the toolbar at the top here. One of these tools across the top is the Manage the Hoop Options tool. It's a hoop tool. And if you squint, it even looks kind of like a hoop. It's right next to this palette, right next to the zoom. Left click on that, and in this little menu that comes up, left click on Rotate by 90 degrees. Left click and say OK. Alright, so I've rotated my hoop 90 degrees now, so I've got all this nice space to work in. This inner rectangle is my embroiderable area inside this hoop. So we want to make sure we don't make our design any bigger than that. So, to get the text tool, you move your mouse over to the left-hand part of the screen. There's this vertical toolbar on the side. The one that looks like a capital letter T is one we'll be using. So left-click on that. And under font, we're just going to do Arial. There's a million fonts that you can choose from. Some of them you have to go in and move the crystals around in order to get it to be right. Arial seems to work pretty well without having to do that. So we're going to do that even though Arial's kind of boring. We click Arial and then left click somewhere in the design field. It really makes no difference where. You left click somewhere and you get this flashing cursor letting you know where to type. I'm going to type in Meadow. You can type in anything you want. I'm going to do all caps. You don't have to. Okay. And when you've typed in your letters, you're going to go up to the first tool on the top of this toolbar. It's actually a select tool, but what it does is it'll generate the letters and also select them at the same time. So that was this tool up here, rectangle selection, and then we're going to move our mouse over our letters here until we get this it's 4 triangles. They're all pointing away from each other. And that tool is, that icon means that we can click and drag and move our letters. I'm going to move mine down and to the left a little bit, and then I'm going to select, if you zoom in a little bit you can see it better, this handle right here. It's a little white ball, and my icon on my mouse turns into 2 triangles facing away from each other. And if I left click and drag to the right, it will increase the size of my letters and keep them to scale so they don't get stretched. Now I can move my letters back to the middle. So I've got my letters selected. They're at a height that I approve of. I look over on my Object Properties menu over here on the right, and I want to fill these letters with crystal instead of a satin stitch. So I'm going to left click on Crystal Fill. And just like that, I've got crystals. Zoom in on them, you can see them a little better. See? There's my crystals. So what is this actually? It's not an embroidery design. You can see that I'm actually missing one crystal right in here on my A. And it's not perfect. The software's not completely perfect. It's not going to put all the crystals exactly the right place every single time. One thing I can do is see if I change the shape of it just a little bit. See how it's changing? You know, some of the crystals are moving around here or there. But we can actually go and put in our own crystal right there so that there's no hole. And down here we would want another one at the bottom of this W2. There, see if I stretch it, they come back on the W, but I lose the one up here. So, you know, it can be kind of annoying chasing around and getting the crystals in exactly the right place that you want them. But what is this design actually? It's not an embroidery design. It's an outline file that's going to be sent to the cutting machine that's really just these circles. That's all this is going to be in the end, is a bunch of little circles cut into the template material. So it's not like an embroidery design. We can't take this design and put it in our embroidery machine and sew it out. Doesn't have any embroidery information, so don't try to do that. All right, so first let's look at some of the settings we have over here in our properties area. The size here, these are the different sizes that are available, and you should see on any given pack of crystals a size. So it'll either be SS or PP. If you have SS10, that is equivalent to PP21. It just depends on the sizing conventions that they use for whatever you use. Most of the ones we sell are in SS. So you pick the one, like if you've got size 10 crystals, you click on 10. If you got size 12 crystals, then you click on 12. So, you know, it just depends on what crystals you have. You make sure you look at the package of crystals you're going to be using and set the size accordingly. And then here for the color, really this makes no difference. It's just the color, like for preview purposes, really. It doesn't change any of the properties of the size of it or anything. So, you know, if you want to see what it looked like in red crystals, there you go. And for doing just straight across letters, those are the only options I want you messing with. When we get into doing filled in areas, we'll start playing with the different fill types. But for lettering, we want this to be single line. Okay, so now I want to add in the missing crystals. Like here, I want to add a crystal. Here, I want to add a crystal. And the way you do that is with the crystal tool, which is right here, create crystal shape. We're going to left click on that. And look, it remembers that I'm using a ruby size SS10. And I just go in and left click right there. I'll left click right there. Yeah, I could mess with that and figure out exactly where I want it to be, but for my purposes here, that's fine. So now I am satisfied with my crystal design here, and I want to put it on a shirt for Meadow. How do I do that? Well, loading your cutter and getting your cutter all set up for this is another video, but I can show you how to send it to the cutter. You go up to File, Export to Crystals Cutters. If you have a Silhouette Cameo cutter, you left click on Silhouette Cameo. On your settings here, set this to 3 passes. I know in the book they tell you to use 2 passes. Use 3 passes, it works better. And make sure that you have cut frame selected. If you don't, it's not gonna cut out the little template. See, without this will just cut these letters in your whole big block of template material. If you do cut frame, it'll actually cut it out. So then you just peel it out of the template material. So yeah, if you had a Cameo cutter plugged in, this would be lit up and I could just hit cut and it would go and cut it. So that's it for this first video. I'm going to do some other stuff with crystals in video form, and hopefully I'll have them all ready for you for the class, and I'll see you then.